Okay, this is going to be the final episode in the series that I've started called How Balkanization Will Save the United States. And basically this is going to be subtitled The Game Doesn't Change, It's Just the Players. So with that being said, you know, is that we see, of course, these protests going on. We see the defunding of the police and that sort of business. The thing is that police are still going to exist, and I think that a lot of folks have to admit that. The police are still going to exist. It just depends on who they serve and what their ideology is. You know, we have to realize that, and how thorough they really are. The thing is, as you can see, we're showing footage from a Russian documentary on Felix Dzerzhinsky. And of course, Felix Dzerzhinsky had a change of heart at the end, at least according to the documentary that I was watching. But, you know, the thing is that he was a pretty ruthless guy. And I made note of him when I was watching a video on Jason Unruh. You know, would Felix Dzerzhinsky have been kind to, you know, the anarchists who were causing trouble? No, he wouldn't have been. And the thing is, police and sheriffs, or whatever form they will take, they aren't going to be nice to protesters in your region, you know, or your little balkanized area. So I think that's what needs to be realized. But that's the one aspect though about police. Police will still exist. Another thing that will exist is going to be taxes. Taxes will still exist. That's just you know, and I would imagine is it, you know, the accountants who will take over whatever region will keep the same. They will still go by the generally accepted accounting principles, or the GAAP measures that are used by accountants right now. Same goes with IFRS, which I believe is the international. Basically, it's what accounting principles that are used internationally. I imagine that these things won't change, you know, and that overall we have to realize that even amongst some socialist society, even people like Lenin have said in Satan Revolution, the society will remain the same. It's just going to be more democratic. That's the whole idea. Now, of course, democratic, you know, put some heavy quotes on that, but it just has to be put into perspective. You have to remember that with ideologues and with other folks is that, and dare I say it, but zealots, whether they be left-wing or right-wing. And I know that I've kind of, you know, had my soft spot for more right-wing ideas more than left-wing. And, you know, return to tradition and all this. But in general, I think that the right doesn't lie as much and doesn't try to trick people as much. They're pretty honest about the fact, you know, you don't have to dig that deep to find out. They just want to be authoritarian, and they want to be trad, and they want to be Catholic, or whatever the case may be, or, you know, be race idolaters. So, that's not me praising it. I'm just saying is that, you know, you take that with a grain of salt versus with leftists who are like, well, we want this free society, we want everyone to be in peace, this and that. And of course, it's nonsense, because we know, history has shown that they don't care about, we know that, you know, religion is a double-edged sword, is that they will use it to praise certain folks and say, yeah, we need the Catholics and we need all these folks who are, you know, more accepting in this and that. But of course, once they get into power, then they'll be like, you know, the thing is that then religion is a struggle for power. You know, yeah, you're struggling for followers now. And so you don't want to be able to compete with the Catholic Church or with the Baptist Church or whatever the case may be. You're like, well, they got to go. And so it has to be put into context. So, and of course, I know what some folks may say, well, the Soviet Union did what they had to do, and the Russian Orthodox Church was infiltrating the system and all. I'll take it for what it is, but nonetheless, the thing is, I remember I was listening to Caleb Maupin yesterday, and he said that we took the energy. They took the energy of what was going on with the Russian Revolution, and they took it for themselves, And, he pretty much has openly admitted that they jacked the movement and co-opted it for a good thing, so that eventually the Bolsheviks would take over Russia, and then later would create the Soviet Union. So, we see that really, do they actually care about helping people? It's a matter of opinion. You have to balance the fact that, maybe both the left and the right want to help people to a point, but there's also a sense of, they want power as well. So it has to be put into context. Now, of course, like I said, once again, lefties will say the same thing, and a lot of Marxists will say similar things, where it's just like, human nature is nonsense, it's garbage, that's all fascist type stuff, it's all idealism. And of course, I thought about this for a minute. But of course, I would say sorry, I have a little bit of a headache, but no excuse for the rambling that I normally do. But I would say is Gramsci and Gentile. Gramsci, who created, I think, the idea of the superstructure and the base, and Gentile, of course, coming up with idealism, and of course, writing the doctrines of fascism, knew each other. They came from the same school. They learned from the same liberal professor. So there is this, this branching off of ideas, that really has to be understood, is that one took this path, another took the other. I think it has to be put into context, like I said. Ultimately, all I would say is this, is that, as much as same thing with any sort of politics, is that people can promise everything to you under the moon, but it's a whole other thing once they get into power. All I'm saying to you, dear listener, is just to realize that. I know I've repeated this over and over, but it's worth noting, that way I try to stay consistent, is that you're just going to have to learn to play the game as it's set before you. That's all you can do. And you can't worry about, saying, I'm a pure leftist, this and that, but then things will change, and we'll see that your comrade next to you that you fought with all the time and fought next to you, fighting fascist or whatever the case may be, that could be your enemy once things go back to normal or come back to some sort of peace. This is the same type of thing with the purges or whatever the case may be. I don't know. People say, the purges are taken out of context. Okay. Well, you see, even with people like Felix Dzerzhinsky, who was a loyal Marxist, ultimately he had second thoughts because he was a Catholic. So that, those leftover things hold on, and we have to kind of dig through. Once again, we're digging again to actually what people's foundations are in terms of philosophy or ideology, this and that. Some people are just dedicated. A lot of these folks on BreadTube are dedicated atheists, but of course they got so upset with people like the whole atheist movement falling apart. And people like Cult from Destiny, this and that, Dusty, Cult of Dusty, and everything else like that, have changed their views and everything else, and now they're more enlightened atheists in their view. Of course, but they don't play themselves. They don't advertise themselves as that. So it has to be put into context. Like I said, this is the end of that brief series of rant videos. First two videos were basically about the war, and, it's great to, it's kind of like, I haven't even read Ernst Jünger, but I kind of have that Ernst Jünger type of feel. With this, I'm just trying to be more honest about what happens afterwards, and what happens at the end of the day. So I'll leave it there. And like I say, I hope y'all enjoy. This is the end of the 15 videos I'm going to be putting out. 3 a week, over 5 weeks. And so hopefully y'all will enjoy that. And with that, stick around. We got plenty more content. And y'all have a good day. Goodbye.